We're trying to set this up in the process the way it goes. So we are going to open up with Amanda, and she's our CPA with Paul Brown Associates. So she's going to talk to you, and then we'll move into our banker, which is Jamie, broker Chris, architect, which is Tony, Anthony, and then myself. So it's basically roughly the process when you're looking to build a building that you're going to go through. You want to talk to your CPA and find out if you should own or lease, and what does that look like financially. And then meet with the banker with those proper financials that your CPA is prepared for you, and then you can understand what you're able to actually finance and own or lease, and what does that look like for your TI budget. Broker, now that you have identified your costs and what you can afford, hire a broker and they'll help you go find the land or that building that you want to lease. Lastly, architect, who is going to bring that vision to life. And then hopefully the GC will make that vision into a standing product. So with that, I will hand it over and let Amanda start. Yeah, we're old school with the laptop. I need a good IT company to get me set up with the remote and all that kind of stuff. We do construction, I don't try to do IT.
All right, hi, I'm Amanda Digney. I'm a CPA at Paul Brown Associates. I started out in public accounting at KPMG and then Grant Thornton on the audit side, and then switched and joined my dad's tax practice about 6 years ago. So with that, kind of had the broad picture of financial aspect, the bookkeeping side, as well as, all the tax consequences and planning, that's important in running a business. And then my sister and I also have OK Smart Pay, which is a payroll and bookkeeping business. We found a lot of clients that needed one or multiple services, so we kind of added those on the last few years. So to start today, everyone's here because they may be, whether it's for themselves or their clients, it's, is it a good idea to build or is it a good idea to lease, and what are the different tax implications of making that decision. So the first one, most people start out renting and then eventually, face that question: is it time to build or own your own office, or is it best to lease? So here are some factors that on the tax act that we should consider. The fixed costs. You're locking in your commercial mortgage long term provides clear fixed monthly cost. Whereas in leasing, at each year before end of the term, you may be subject to annual rent increases when your lease expires. Tax deductions, owning and managing commercial space, you'll get deductions in the form of mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance, repairs, and then other miscellaneous items around the office. Another opportunity if you own or build is that you have extra office space, and that may provide rental income, especially if you're looking to grow and maybe at the time you don't want to be limited to a certain number of offices. It may be a good idea to have extra space that you can rent. Retirement savings. Owning commercial space and allowing the property to appreciate over time allows owners to sell out and fund retirement. Alternatively, you may retire and keep that office space, and that's monthly income check, especially once that property is paid off. Cons of buying office space include, obviously, it's capital intensive, and you may be tying up working capital. If you're in a business where you're constantly looking for the next opportunity, this may tie up some working capital and you may be limited there. In addition, any ownership comes with headaches. You may know that just from home ownership, whether it's repairs, in between tenants if you are renting it out. Some of that falls on your shoulders. Next, I want to talk about cost segregation. I would recommend this as you're building or even as you're purchasing commercial space. Under the U.S. tax laws, cost segregation is defined as the process of identifying personal property assets that are grouped with the real property assets, with the real estate, and separating those out for tax reporting purposes. So cost segregation study, it's a process of identifying the property components that are personal or land improvements under the federal tax code. purpose of this is to identify shorter depreciation lives. Most commercial real estate is depreciated over 39 years. So you may be spending a lot of money up front, but you're going to be getting that depreciation over 39 years. So it's very helpful later on, and up front you might be surprised that you're not getting a bigger tax break. However, by doing this cost segregation study, maybe the furniture and fixtures, the lane improvement, the concrete, there's a number of different aspects that have 5, 7, and 15 years, and with current tax law, you can write a lot of those off immediately. So real property eligible for cost segregation includes buildings that have been purchased, constructed, expanded, or remodeled since 1987. And personal property assets found in the study generally include items that are affixed to the building but do not relate to the overall operation and maintenance of the building. These assets include the non-structural elements, exterior land improvements, and indirect construction costs. Land improvements can include items outside the building that are affixed to the land that don't relate to the overall operation and maintenance of the building. That includes parking lots, driveways, paved areas, site utilities, walkways, sidewalks, curbing, stairs, fencing, retaining walls, carports, dumpster enclosures, and landscaping. So these are all things that are given when you're building a property or when you're buying a property. It's important to kind of have those broken out, whether you're using this cost segregation study or if it's in the process of building, and give that to your CPA because you're going to get a bigger write-off for those items. So tax benefits, like I said, you're taking more deduction up front instead of over the 39 years. And this is all, the 39 years is for non-residential real estate. Obviously you may have residential or other items that have different lives. Other benefits, creating an audit trail, and you can do retroactive catch-up. Taxpayers can capture immediate retroactive savings on property added since 1987. So typical tax deductions if you own a commercial building, the repairs, the mortgage interest, and I want to point out you do not get for the portion of principal payment, that's not deductible. So some taxpayers are surprised. It's like, oh, well, my total cash flow is negative, but yet on their tax return they're showing a net income. Insurance, maintenance, the depreciation. If you are also renting out the property, there's probably some operating expenses in order to rent it out. Anything necessary, ordinary for managing, conserving, and maintaining your property, cost of materials, supplies, repairs, maintenance, anything to keep it in good operating condition. The next topic to study is, so you're buying and building, you're building your commercial building. We recommend putting it in an LLC. This gives you options on whether it's a disregarded entity or a partnership. We do not recommend putting it in a corp, an S corp or a C corp. If you are a single owner and you're buying or building, it would be a disregarded entity filed on your personal tax return. If there are 2+ owners, it would naturally default as a partnership, even though you're creating the LLC. Reasons for this: many people hold their real estate in order to protect their, say you're, a lawyer or a dentist or whatever it is that you do. Holding the building in a separate LLC would help limit whether there's a claim on the building to protect your other business and vice versa. And also your personal assets and property from any potential litigation or claims that may result from this real estate investment. With an LLC as a property owner, the worst case is liquidation of the LLC, and the members of the LLC will lose their investment but nothing more. So it's once again, and that's related to claims, it's limiting any potential risk or loss. So why not a corp? Usually these examples are your worst case examples. It's partnership breaking up, a partner being deceased, husband and wife, and they're divorcing and you're having to, sell the property to split the assets. In any of these examples that typically are unplanned when you initially start, or purchase the property, with these you have to do a pretend sale at fair market value. And as most of you would know, it's typically, buildings and real estate appreciate over time. So just distributing it out, you're having a taxable gain. If it's in a partnership or a disregarded entity LLC, that's not the case. In addition, if it's a partnership, the partners get basis and your share of the loan cost. You do not if it's in a corp. And that kind of comes into play if you're having distributions in excess of basis, and typically when you're getting your tax return done, and your CPA might let you know that you're having problems with your basis. Further, we also advise a lot of clients to pay their LLC. So say you have your active business and then you have your building. We may recommend to pay your LLC that owns the building rent income. This allows you to create passive rental income. You can offset passive losses that you have. And this rental income qualifies for our 20% QBI deduction. And I actually put QBI deduction, assuming that you qualify. There are certain limitations, but most people qualify. That kind of relates to your personal tax return, though.
What is QBI?
Qualified business income deduction. Most small businesses are receiving that, not C Corps. But it's all limited to your personal return. So you may have a partnership and the same share of income going, and one gets a full 20% deduction and one might get 5 bits. There's income limitations. There's certain industries that do not qualify if you're over a certain income. So it is that's something to speak with your CPA and make sure you're taking full advantage of that, assuming you can. And sometimes it's even structuring your business differently to make sure you take advantage of that. But it is a conversation you should be having with your CPA. That's part of the tax reform that went into effect in 2018. So that's all I have. Feel free to reach out. I have business cards, and a lot of times with depreciation, with tax structuring, it depends on your industry. It depends on your personal return if you have other sources of income. So it is best to kind of take that individualized approach and see what's the best way for you to structure your business. Anyways, thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Everybody can have coffee and snacks. Well, thanks again, Dima, for the invite this morning. We only have 5 minutes, so I'll tell you this morning, my presentation is very high level, because even David and I were talking earlier, and there's a lot of detail that can go into the banker's perspective along with everybody here. So my goal in my presentation today is just to give you a little tiny bit of information about First Citizens and some things to think about with the construction loan process from a banker's perspective. I'm Jeannie Buckley. I'm the area executive and market president for the Oklahoma market. I'm joined today too by Ryan in the back, Kerr. Not Ryan in the back, Kerr, but Ryan Kerr, who's a commercial banker with First Citizens here in the market, and then Ben Perkypile, who's over here as well, who's also a commercial banker. This is not a sales pitch, but I want to let you guys know a tiny bit about First Citizens Bank. We have been in the market for a little over 10 years now. We have been around as a bank though for over 118 years. We are third generation, going on fourth generation family owned, and we are the second largest family controlled publicly traded bank in the U.S. And we are also led by women. So our vice chairman is Holding Bryant, who's a woman. So very strong liquidity and loan loss ratios, and we are one of the 50 largest banks in the country. So we have 2 locations here in Oklahoma City. One at West Memorial Meridian, and then we're also building one at Norman at Tecumseh and I-35. We also have a location at Landmark Towers until that Norman location opens. So again, my goal today is just to help give you some ideas and some thoughts on some keys to success for the banking component. This slide right here, I feel like partnership is key, and that's why we are all here today. And I don't know why it adjusted that way. So sorry for that. That's not how I sent it over. But contractors here, the banker, the CPA, the architect, the realtor, and then the person I forgot to include in here is you, the customer. Partnership in all of those different areas is key, and primarily communication. So putting that deal team together is critical because these parties are not mutually exclusive. I can tell you from experience, I know that guys can too, that most of the friction that we experience as a bank is because we're not on the same page with you or the contractor or the architect. So the sooner that you can assemble your deal team together, the better the process will be and the smoother it will go. So from a bank's perspective, your contractor and architect and CPA are partnering together to figure out what makes sense for you from a tax perspective, but also what that project's going to look like. But then we're going to help you figure out if you really can afford it and if you can get a loan for it, right? Our CPA is going to figure out if you should afford it based on your long-term planning, and then we're going to look at your financials and say, is this project feasible? The realtor also needs to know what you can afford, and again, the CPA can help from a long-term planning perspective. So our goal too, if we're all on the same page, we can make this a much smoother process for you. My favorite interaction with a realtor was when they called me and said, I did these 5 things for you already, and that's really our goal as a deal team too, to make sure that you have a business to run. So managing a construction project it could be another full-time job if you don't have the right deal team together. From a banking perspective, this is just the construction loan process. Obviously, you're going to have some initial meetings, and I feel like the best way to do that is to get your deal team all together. So they can understand what the bank's process looks like, we can understand what their timeline is, and really understanding that timeline is truly critical. But we should be included. A lot of times, we're like last to the party for whatever reason, and you've spent a lot of money up front paying your contractor, paying for plans and specs, doing some initial drawings with your architect, working on a budget, and then you get to the bank and you're like, wait a minute, like this isn't working out. So the sooner we can be involved, the better. We can even help pre-qualify you and help have those conversations about what you can afford, so you're also using your contractor and architect's time wisely. So you're not spending all that time to find out, oh no, like this project's not going to work for me. Construction is risky, so we can also help you in those initial meetings, make sure you've got the right contractor lined up. So there's a lot of contractors out there that may not follow all the P's and Q's and put you at risk, and also put the bank at risk as well. Prior to loan approval, we're going to ask for some basic financial information. That's going to include business and personal tax returns, personal financial statement, business debt schedule for your business. We also will verify liquidity. And you're probably wondering why we verify liquidity. We want to know what the fallback is. So obviously there's going to be contingency in the budget, but what if something happens? What extra cash do you have? You might decide you want to change orders. We typically are looking for those change orders to come from you. So we want to see how much liquidity that you have. We also will need that preliminary construction information. We cannot go to our approvers without knowing what your preliminary budget is, what those plans and specs look like. Have you thought through this process before we can get you a loan approval? So once you're approved, congratulations. At that point, we need to order the appraisal, the environmental, and I think we've got a title partner sitting here in the back as well. I like to say those are the things that are not under our control. And the appraiser is going to need some very accurate information in order to make sure that appraisal is representative of the scope of the project. So junk in, junk out. If we get the appraiser junk, they're going to give us a junk appraisal. So we want to make sure that's accurate. And that way the bank's going to look at total project cost or appraised value, whichever's less. So we want to make sure that those are in line. Lastly, once you have closed your loan, post-closing and disbursement, this is also a really critical part of the process. The bank's going to want to know what that build-out schedule looks like from that builder, so that way we can structure that interest-only period and that draw period to match that build-out schedule. And then we'll be doing disbursements. And so again, that's where that partnership up front comes into play, because we want that contractor and the architect to know what the bank needs for each disbursement in order to release the funds. And ultimately, that release is up to the customer. So we want to make sure you're happy with that before we fund the contractor and make sure that they are paid. So that's just a really quick overview. I'll be around for questions as well. I do have some folders with like a little checklist I'll hand out, so you'll have an idea of what the bank's typically looking for from a construction perspective financially. So, thanks.
Good morning. I know it's kind of odd for the main event to go in the middle, but that's okay. I'm graciously accepted, but so grateful to Dima and the DBG team for having me here today. I've had a fantastic experience with Dima so far this year. So partnership is really, really important. I love that each person so far has really spoken to that. That's where a lot of my business comes from, as well as where I like to steer a lot of my clients. The odd thing about me is, in what I do is about 90% of my clients is free. So I do most of my work for free. My partner, my other partner, is here, Chris Leasley, is our newest addition to the team. But what we do for clients is free. And the only time that we charge is if we're selling a product for you, as far as a building or something like that. But most of what we do is free, and so what that means is we have to work really, really hard to make sure you're happy. Because if you're not happy, then we don't close, and we don't get the business, and we don't feed our families. No, tearjerker. Oh, there it is. There's our really cool logo. I know that's important, so it's up there. But one thing I want to ask some questions more specifically, and kind of change things up a little bit. You guys can write it down, or you can just think about it as, what does your location truly affect in your business? I think that's really important for you to think about today, tomorrow, moving forward. What does that mean for you? Are you a business where your clients come to you? Are you a business where your clients never come in your location at all? What does that matter to you? I'll give you an example. So we help a lot of businesses move space, move location, buy locations, buy land, and then build buildings. And one recent client that we helped, they were in a old, I want to say it's an office building, but it's kind of different structure. Old office building for about 10 years. And while they were in that location, business grew, needed to move, wanted to decide to build their own building, build their own building, kind of a modern feel to it and a look, and their culture changed completely. It changed from how they sold to their clients, it changed the employee morale, changed the location of how they could hire people and where they're hiring, and their client base changed. Also, really, that just the switch of location completely changed the dynamic of their business. So it's really important, I think, for us is when we sit down with our clients, is what is this location truly affecting for you? If it's an office building, if it's your own freestanding building, what does that really affect for you? And if we want to do that, if we want to move to the area of building your own building, who are the right people to get in front of? It's the most important thing. I've been through, unfortunately, so many bad transactions that now in my 8 years of doing this, I really, really try to partner with the right people from the beginning, because the most important thing, again, is the client satisfaction. Otherwise, we're not doing our job. So that's just a short little snippet. For me, it's kind of important. I like to ask some questions, or have questions asked to me, so I'll leave the next 2 minutes. If anybody just has some random questions that they've always wondered on the broker side, who we are, what we actually do, why we're around, why we exist, so on and so forth. Any questions that you can think of? Matt?
You mentioned free a couple times.
Yes.
Well, I know you get paid somehow.
Yes.
So how does that work?
It's a great question. So that's honestly one of the biggest things that I don't think a lot of people understand of what I do, compared to like a residential real estate agent. So the residential real estate agent, I'll kind of equal those two. So if you are going out and Dima's my agent and she's helped me buy a house, well, she's free to me. So she gets paid by the homeowner that's selling the home. So similar with me, I get paid by either the landlord where you're leasing, or the landowner that is selling the land, or the building owner that's selling the land. So I do all that work for the buyer at no cost to make sure that they're protected, and make sure that they have all the things in place that are necessary. Even we went through a transaction with a client where they purchased the wrong land, and it cost them $1 million in just land costs and just development costs because they purchased in the wrong area. So it's really important for those people to involve the knowledgeable side of the banker, the broker, and construction side as far as just the land itself it goes. So that's who pays me, is the owner of the property, if you will. That's who has it. But other questions? Anybody have like a really terrible experience? Oh, yes, go ahead. Before we get to that.
I have a really terrible experience, but
That's okay, I do too.
it's probably become
Yes, no problem.
So can you sell real estate on your own? Like,
Of course.
I sold my old house on Craigslist
Mhm.
and, like quickly.
Yeah,
So if you want to sell a commercial, you don't have to be licensed. I mean, if you want to sell your own stuff, you can sell your own stuff. I realize there's lots of risk in doing that, but
sure.
it's not
Sure.
illegal, right?
No, it's not, it's not, and Tom and Chris and I will tell you, we always try to encourage you to do it the easiest way for you as far as what's the safest way that feels comfortable to you. It doesn't make sense to bring us along if you feel like you can do it. And give it a try. If it works, fantastic, save you some money if you're selling it especially. If it doesn't work, then bring us in, and we'll figure out a way to make it make sense for you. But yes, you can. Yeah, you absolutely can. You can sell your house yourself. You can sell commercial property yourself. Like you said, the only downside is the risk, the protection, maybe what you're exposing yourself to. But yeah, absolutely you can. That's not usually a good thing for you to say. It's okay. I'd rather be real with you than try to.
And one thing I might add on that, residential, you have the MLS. So, the house is all, you click, 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 see everything count.
Sure.
Commercial, there's not really, you have LoopNet, but a lot of stuff is not online. It's networking. And it's guys like Ken and Tom who've done it 10, 20 years. And they'll pick up the phone, they'll find the perfect building for someone. So a lot of it's not online, so that's where we can really help guide you and find the right place.
Yeah, we are, because we've experienced so many different types of transactions between land purchases, building sales, all kinds of things, we know where to go to protect you right away. And Jamie said it really well, like, you guys are business owners, so we try to make sure that you do your business and we do ours, and we relieve that stress. And we have, again, all that experience and mistakes that have been made in the past to learn from that we don't want our clients to have to go through, unfortunately. So, but thank you guys for the time. We use First Citizens and DBG, by the way, and now we're going to be using a new CPA firm. But seriously, the best of the best. We've done, I think 3 or 4 deals with First Citizens. Their rates are unbeatable. But although that is really important, their service is really great. And DBG, there's no one that's better that's going to work hard for you. So, and the product's just immaculate, as you can see. So thank you again. I appreciate your time.
Real quick, are you touching on
Yes.
demographics?
On demographics?
How you're able to, if I have a retail business,
Sure.
or where I'm at, I don't think you can find that on the internet, just on the World Wide Web of demographics of a certain.
It's challenging to do that, to find as far as, when you say demographics, if it's a retail type business, what's your traffic count, what's your average household income, where are the people that's going to be buying from you going to be coming from? And then secondly, demographics as far as hiring ability, as far as what area you're going to be in, that's going to make sense for employees to be, what type of employee base you're trying to hire from. And so that's, again, resources that we've built over the years and figured out which one's the most accurate and which ones aren't, and what's going to be the most valuable for you. I'm helping a client right now. She, first-time business owner, she's 25 years old. She has no idea what she's doing as far as the real estate side, and that's okay, because she is an expert at what she does, and I try to be an expert at what I do. And we placed her in a location that is best fit for her product. And that was based on the traffic counts and the age demographic of where she's at and the household income. Because those all 3 things matter for her product. So that's really important. Yes, sir.
I will say, last couple of deals I've worked on with Tom too, properties that my clients ended up buying weren't even listed. So he actually just went on a cold call. These guys, hey, sell your building kind of thing.
Yeah.
It worked out, but it's just goes to show, especially with commercial real estate in Oklahoma City, you don't know what's for sale and what's not a lot of times.
Yeah, we
If it is LoopNet, it's probably too late.
it is, yeah, we all 3 sit in the office and pretty much chat all day long and try to use each other as resources to try to find things that are off market, because those are usually when the best deals come along. But again, because of the nature of our business that we work for free for a lot of buyers and leaseholders, we have to really go to the M3 to make sure they're happy, and we're okay with that. That's why we do what we do. But so it's a protection side as well for doing that. Thank you, Ryan. But anything else? Okay, the main event was here, and I appreciate your guys. Hey, you don't have to listen after this, but thank you for your time this morning. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So, it's going to be pretty hard to follow. But my name is Tony Blatt, I'm an architect. I've been in the Oklahoma City area for the past couple of decades. Actually, for 30 years, I was with Home Blatt Architects for the last 22. And our projects range in a very wide spectrum of sizes and costs and types. We don't specialize, we are continually asked by our clients, do you specialize in anything specific? And we say we specialize in listening, because the projects that we do are wide, varied, and they always are based around what the client is looking to have. So what I wanted to talk about today is, what does an architect bring to the table, and then when do you bring the contractor into the process? Because as we've talked about today, it's the team. It's this entire team of people that you want to assemble to make you have a successful project. Because at the end of the day, we lead. And then you're going to be working in that project, and you're going to be living with that project for the next 10 years, 20 years, for the rest of your life, and it might be something that you'll pass on to your heirs. It's something that's really important to you. So we speak really highly of team, and for whenever we talk to an architect comes into the team pretty early in the process. They're talking with you about code, they're talking to you about cities, about authorities having jurisdiction. They're talking to you about when do you need to bring the engineers into the process, and what types of engineers do you need to be brought into the process, because different municipalities are going to require different things. And a client might have to spend a certain amount if he's working in Oklahoma City, and a different amount if he's working in Mustang, or in Hera, or in Norman. All of those different municipalities bring different requirements. Sometimes you step out of those municipalities and you're dealing with the state fire marshal, and that brings another level of scrutiny and requirements that are going to be placed on you. The architect helps to navigate that process so that it is as streamlined and as stress-free as it can be for you. So we start off with dialogue. You see words in this first slide that we've got here is words that are programming words. It's things that are discussed with our clients. It's things that are important both in the sizes of spaces, the number of spaces, how the spaces are going to be organized. What do you want to see when you walk in the building? How is the experience? What's the quality of the space? How much does the space cost? How's the space going to feel? What are the power requirements? What are the structural requirements? All of the things that the owner tells to us because they've been thinking about this project for a very long period of time. We're going to get all of that information down and document it, and then we're going to meet and we're going to repeat it. We're going to say, did we capture the essence of what you were thinking was your program? Did we get everything down in place? And then we start to turn it into two-dimensional graphics. Floor plans, site plans, maybe exterior elevations. It starts to show a feeling, but it's still just a graphic representation of what your initial program and dream was. It's not yet a building, it's not yet construction documents, it's not yet a final product, but it's a step in the process that will allow us to go to our next step, which is getting engineers on board, starting to have discussions with municipalities, starting to work with individuals who are going to be other team members that you are going to be working with. The last item that we've got here on the far right side is three-dimensional graphics. And this might be 2D pictures, it can even be models, it can be information that helps to further the discussion. What we will typically see when we're working with clients is the first discussions, we have a little bit of engagement, the clients are telling us a lot and we're listening a lot. The next, it's more about trying to see if we've got the information down on paper, and the client will look at it and say, now that I can see that, now that I can see how these spaces are working, I've got some new information